What does Andrew Ryan actually believe at the end? Not in gods nor in men, in a lie so pure it became truth. The little sisters were not victims, they were weapons. Young girls conditioned to harvest Adam from corpses, their innocence twisted into a blade. Nor in men, conditioned to his harvest legacy, was Adam not from built on freedom corpses. A moral compromise that turned Rapture's last hope into its final curse. Did Ryan know? Did he care? His legacy was not built on freedom. It was built on the blood of children. Tenenbaum's choice was not an accident. Objectivism promised freedom but forged chains. The girls were not chosen for innocence, they were chosen to break. Their screams became currency, their pain a weapon against splicers. Rapture's God demanded sacrifice, yet offered no protection. Tenenbaum's rebellion began not with defiance but complicity. She turned their purity into a blade, a lie sharper than any splicer's rage. The sisters never harvested Adam. They were tapped, drained, discarded. What survives when ideology devours its children? Rapture's final truth: even paradise bleeds when it builds on bones. Bridget Tenenbaum knew fragile things break easily. She designed the little sisters not to save them, but to exploit a truth Rapture's ideologues ignored. Innocence is a resource as finite as Adam. Girls, their neural pathways still malleable, became perfect vessels. Their conditioning erased trauma, replaced it with a loop of harvest and return, a mechanical serenity, masking calculated brutality. Adam, after all, was not a miracle. It was a byproduct of death, siphoned from drowned bodies in the city's abyssal vaults. Tenenbaum's genius was in the lie, that these children were pure, that their purpose was sacred, but purity is a cage. Each sister was a counter in a war Rapture never let them leave. They walked among splicers, untouched by the chaos they sustained, their hollow eyes holding no fearingly the cold calculus of a system that dressed its machinery in angelic flesh. What worse monument to objectivism than a child made both saint and sustenance? The cycle continued until the girls, like Adam itself, were spent. Rapture's final irony: the purest were its most disposable. What if paradise's price was not sacrifice but erasure? The training room hums with sterile light, antiseptic tang in the air. Floor tiles bite the soles of your boots cold, unyielding. Tenenbaum's diary crackles through the headpiece, her voice fraying at the edges. I built them. I broke them. Nearby, a child's humming seeps through a cracked door, a lullaby warped by static. She speaks again, words a scalpel. A flickering child's bulbs cast humming seeps through shadows that writhe like cracked door splicers. I chose she girls because they could still speaks again believe. Belief, the final weapon, a flicker. In the darkness, a cabinet's glass shatter, something inside stirs, small and hungry. Tenenbaum's past coils beneath her confession. Auschwitz ashes, her hands stained with another kind of blood. Believe in what when the body betrays the soul? The diary ends. Silence presses like water, you step back. The hallway beyond is lined with cribs, each holding a figure curled, dormant. One twitches, a breath that smells of brine and rust. They are not sleeping. A low whine rises in the walls, the girl's voices merging into a hymn. Tenenbaum's guilt lingers in the air, sweet and cloying as spoiled honey. She thought their innocence would be a shield. Instead, it became a blade. The program's cruelty wasn't in what it took but what it made the girls into asterisk. A species of savior, born in chains, and Tenenbaum. She's among them now, a ghost in the machinery, whispering apologies to children who no longer know her name. The lab reeks of antiseptic and iron. Flickering fluorescents cast shadows over steel tables, their surfaces pocked with atom-stained residue. Tenenbaum's gloved hand trembles as she uncorks the audio logit, static hiss sharp against the hum of failing ventilation. Suchong's voice smooth as poisoned honey. The girls are our best extractors. Their innocence makes them compliant. A click, a pause. Then the sound of a child laughing, faint and distant, swallowed by machinery. Beyond the lab's blood-stained floor, a corridor wall bears graffiti. She lied. Scrawled in what might be rust or bone. Tenenbaum traces the letters, her breath fogging the cold concrete. The graphite's jagged edges mirror the fractured ethics of a man who called himself a scientist. She finds the extraction tools still warm. A syringe, half buried in a tray, glints with a viscous, iridescent sheen. Adam waiting. The memory of a girl's hand, small, unresisting flashes in her mind. Asterisk, was it ever about saving them? Asterisk, Tenenbaum wonders. Only weaponizing their trust, turning their purity into a scalpel for the splicers who preyed on them. The log's truth claws at her. Suchong's cycle was no salvation. It was a loop, a cage polished to look like a cradle. The girl's conditioning wasn't a flaw, it was the design, a distant clang echoes. Tenenbaum pockets the log, her footsteps echoing louder than before. The lab's doors hiss shut behind her. Somewhere in the dark, a child hums a lullaby. Now it sounds like a weapon charging. The antiseptic stench of the lab clings to her lab coat. Tenenbaum's fingers tremble as she inputs the final code to purge atom synthesis logs 1958, the year Rapture's veins turned to poison. A siren wails outside. Distant explosions bruise the ocean floor. She doesn't flinch, not anymore. The child's humming has sharpened into a metallic whine. A splicer's chains drag in the corridor. She stuffs a vial of gene regulator into her coat. The door hisses open. Rebel hideouts reek of mildew and desperation. Tenenbaum kneels beside a little sister, her skin glazed with phosphorescent oil. The girl's breaths sink with the bioreactor strapped to her chest, a symbiotic horror. Tenenbaum's scalpel hovers. Asterisk, this is atonement, asterisk, she tells herself. But the blade never falls. Instead, she injects a sedative, drapes the child in a stolen coat. The rescuee's hollow eyes mirror her own. Somewhere Andrew Ryan's voice still echoes through the ruins. Asterisk, you can't eat facts. Asterisk, Tenenbaum laughs, a sound like shattering glass. Shed believed in facts once. In equations that could bend the sea. Now she carries a ledger of death's names shall never utter. The Civil War's ash coats her lungs. She coughs, tasting iron. In Bioshock 2's drowning corridors, Tenenbaum's final act plays like a fractured hymn. Splicers claw at her as she cradles a little sister, her body a shield. The gene-harvesting blade descends. She doesn't look away. The child's scream is a symphony. Tenenbaum's last thought is a question. Asterisk, did I save her or merely end her song? Asterisk, the ocean swallows the rest. The vault's cold bites through Tenenbaum's coat. Flickering fluorescence casts the lab's stainless steel tables in a sickly blue. The air reeks of ozone and synthetic sterility, Rapture's version of cleanliness. Here girls were not born but asterisk assembled asterisk, their bodies tweaked to harvest atom with clinical efficiency. Their glow was not innocence, it was circuitry, a pulsing lie woven into flesh. In 1958, Tenenbaum reprogrammed the core. Security logs show her hands trembling as she keyed the command to sever the sister's neural locks. A siren wails. Splicers outside the lab clutch their heads, howling as the sound fractures their madness. For 3 minutes the girls stood still, their golden eyes unclouded. Then the system purged. Tenenbaum watched one child stumble, clutching her chest as atom light dimmed to a fumble. Asterisk, did she feel betrayal? Asterisk, Tenenbaum never learned. The flood came soon after. Rapture's rot was never in its sins. It was in the arithmetic. The cost of defiance always outpaces the cost of compliance. The little sisters were not weapons, they were the tally. Tenenbaum did not choose girls for their innocence. She chose them for their weaponized purity. A scholar who once counted corpses in gas chambers now counted lives as currency. Her trauma forged a logic. If Rapture would dehumanize, she would weaponize the dehumanized. The little sisters were not rescued. They were recruited into a war they could not escape. Their trauma became Tenenbaum's shield. Their silence became Splicer's screams. Did she believe she was saving them? Or did she know from the start that survival in a drowned city demands collateral damage? The program's ethics were a ledger. Auschwitz taught her arithmetic. Rapture demanded its multiplication. She became the system's most efficient cog by pretending to crack it. The girls were never tools, they were testimonials. Proof that even a mind scarred by genocide could rationalize atrocities when survival is the only god. Tenenbaum's rebellion would come, but not here. Not in the dark before Andrew Ryan's end. This was the lie she lived, that the innocent could be both shield and sword. The sisters never harvested Adam, they harvested complicity. The cost of their rescue was a world where morality bends to pragmatism. In the end, Tenenbaum's greatest betrayal was not to Rapture. It was to the ghosts she once buried. She gave them new graves. And called it mercy. The girl's purity was a lure. Tenenbaum did not hide them in plain sight, she armed them with it. Their innocence became a shield, a weapon, a lie so sharp it seared Rapture's soul. Each little sister was a paradox, both prey and predator, both victim and executioner. They were not chosen for their helplessness. They were chosen for what their helplessness made others do. Objectivism's blueprint was never about survival, it was about selection. Tenenbaum's program did not mimic nature, it perverted it. The splicers didn't attack girls, they attacked the illusion of safety, the myth of order. Every harvested atom was a transaction, flesh for faith in a city that had none. The ideology that promised utopia built its temples on a poisoned well. Free will was a lie Rapture told itself. The little sisters had no choice in their conditioning, no voice in their purpose. They were pawns, then weapons, then relics of a system that devoured its own logic. Tenenbaum's mercy was a noose. She framed their servitude as salvation, their complicity as consent, but the girls were never agents. They were the gears in a machine designed to grind down the weak hand, call it justice. What if the little sisters were Rapture's final, unspoken truth, not its victims, its architects? Every splicer's rage, every entrepreneur's greed orbited the girls like moths to a flame they could not touch. The cycle was never about Adam. It was about control, and when the city fell, its ruins did not whisper of failure, they screamed of design. The little sisters' secret was never their innocence, it was their power, and Tenenbaum knew it all along. 264 words. Tenenbaum's rebellion carved a crack in Rapture's unyielding machine. It did not shatter the gears, only exposed their teeth. The little sisters were never tools, they were the trap. Their innocence, a lure to make splicers fight for what they could never keep. Each girl harvested was a promise broken, a lie etched deeper into the city's rot. Did she think the silence of the sisters would absolve her, or was the rebellion itself a sacrifice, another layer in the design? The ruins hold no answers, only the hollow eyes of the sisters watching, waiting. What truth do you see in their silence? Decide. Then tell me if the lie was ever hers to break. Tenenbaum's rebellion carved a crack in Rapture's machine. It didn't shatter the gears, only exposed their teeth. The little sisters weren't tools, they were the trap. Their innocence, a lure to make splicers fight for what they couldn't keep. Each girl harvested was a broken promise, a lie etched deeper into the city's rot. Did she think the sisters' silence would absolve her? Or was the rebellion itself a sacrifice, another layer in the design? The ruins hold no answers, only the hollow eyes of the sisters watching, waiting.